Matthew Charles Aycock, so we'll see those along the way as well. This is the Senate vestibule. This was, of course, the entrance to the Supreme Court, which was the Senate chamber. Now, again, anywhere along the tour lot, you may take photographs. The room was only occupied by the Supreme Court when they met in February and August. So how does it call this time of the year? Everybody was a farmer. So they had to tend to their farmlands. And back then there was no time limit as to how long you would argue your cases. This area of the building here was destroyed during the War of 1812. These columns date back to 1809, the years of corn that you see, the corn stock columns. They were installed at the time of 1809. The first building area that we'll walk into is a robing area. You'll see the bust of Roger Tawney, Calvin County, Maryland, slave owner himself, who said if he was born a descendant of a slave, yet not a citizen, but you were property, and property of such could not be brought forth in the Supreme Court, you had no rights to argue. But Dred Scott was actually a free man. He got a taste of free soil, so he wanted to be a free man, and he started arguing that case in St. Louis, and eventually making his way here into the United States Supreme Court. Different chairs, different time periods. The first 3 chairs would date back to the 1830s. There are 4 summer chairs, and there are 2 smaller, which date back to the 1860s, that time period. So different chairs, different time periods. Come on in, there's nobody here but us. And also, as you're coming in, again, the first 3 chairs date back to the 1830s. So come over and up to the ropes. And as you're walking in, keep in mind the room that we're walking in was a 2-story chamber. So the Supreme Court chamber went all the way up to the 2nd floor. And conversion began in 1808, converting that 2-story chamber into 2 separate chambers. And the Supreme Court on the bottom and the Senate on the top. So that we're behind us. So again, I'm going to point out a few things that have been discussed, the different chairs, different time periods, justices' seats. The 4 Greenfield tables is where the lawyers were arguing the cases. Back then, there was no time limit. They go on for 30 minutes or 4 days. So it wasn't until the 1970s they could only argue 30 minutes each time unless you had special permission from the Chief Justice prior to going into court. The bust on the wall, the first 4 Chief Justices, John Marshall, John Jay, and Oliver Ellsworth. And also, while you're by the ropes, if you look above that fireplace in the back, behind the courtroom, bless you, there's a large clock. The clock dates back to 1837, said 5 minutes past. So the associate justices would not be late for court. The windows are artificially lit. They would have provided day lighting, but the building was extended between 1958 and 1962, just in time for JFK's inauguration. So down there's just a hallway spacing back there. The ceiling was, again, a 2-story chamber, but the archway that you see here, that I'm standing underneath of in 1898, more sports and lighting was added back into this location. In 1809, the architect's assistant removed the scaffolding prematurely, the plaza had fallen on McGilton, and then the war of 1812, the 3 tragedies that did occur in this area of the building. But again, as you take your photographs, you're going to exit out and I'll take pictures that you may have as you go. Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Great, thanks. And you got another view of that large clock in this area as well.
Okay.
Just here.
Okay. Maybe you do same for me. Oh, sorry.
First of all, any questions? All right, so first of all, any questions about the old Supreme Court? Now, the chandelier is a check crystal, 14,500 pieces, purchased in 1965 for $1,500. $2,000 priceless. Now, this is not, you can actually stand here in the middle and take a picture straight up and take a photo. So it makes a nice area of location. But this area, again, was completed in 1898, that gas explosion with the 2 staircases going up, completely destroyed, and then they rebuilt the area, redesigned the area. The chandelier was eventually placed into this this is again not a time piece. So they figured to relocate to another part of the building to place something here more similar to this era. First part of the building, the house is sent sprinkled circles of the block of concrete. Down the hallway, the second chandelier is by 1859 construction. That was the fifth part of the building. Well, that's around the President Robert Trouble, because it was a senator who traveled down from the location into the nation and then went out to the inaugural stage on the stage. So this is located from the center side and the house side, and that's what you're seeing as well. This way. This area here was completely destroyed. The War of 1812, there was a two-story gangway. Congress realized afterwards they needed a more secure passageway. So they built this room. And the room that we're in is called the crypt. When you think of the crypt, what do you think of? Dead people, thank you very much. Below this floor, Congress built a tomb eventually for George Washington. They wanted to honor him by having his body placed in the building. Now, keep in mind, he passed away in 1799. This area of the building was not here. It did not come about until 1818, completed by 1824. The tomb was not built until 1820. The tomb was only built for George, never for George and Martha. Now, Congress had plenty of time to modify the placement, but they didn't. Although they did submit legislation to try to remove his body from Mount Vernon to place it in his tomb because no space should go in waste. Well, they didn't win that fight. It is still empty. DC as a city will start here and expand out in 4 quadrants: northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. National Cathedral is the furthest distance out from this location, more than 10 miles, extending outward to northwest Washington, D.C. with different destinations as we exit out of the building. 40 columns supporting the weight of 9 million pounds of cast iron. North Carolina. Charles A. Cox, United States statues, governor. Florida will see John Boyd upstairs as well. But statues around the room are members of the first 13 colonies. Maryland's state statue was Charles Carroll. The Carroll family actually owned the land that the Capitol building sits on. At the time it was called Jenkins Hill. So this was all farmland, and the Capitol building again built in 6 different parts. The third part of the building completed this part by 1824. The building is long enough that we can lay the Washington Monument down and have 100 feet on each side. Large enough that the building has 2 zip codes. The Senate has the zip code and the House of Representatives has their own zip code. But DC will start there and expand out.
So they wanted to bury George Washington here?
They wanted to, but it's empty. The tomb is empty. So nobody's down there.
Why they couldn't do it?
Why they couldn't make it? Because the founder was very adamant why he couldn't bring George Washington's body in. The founder was very adamant about where he spent. Mount Vernon was his home. So they thought it was only right that his body would be placed where he spent the majority of his time. Because he never saw this building. When Congress moved from Philadelphia, that was 1800, into the first part of the building. He passed away in 1799. So the building was in its final stages, but he never really saw the completion of this part of the building. And by the time this came, there was 3 parts of the building that had already been constructed out of 6 where it was built. So out of respect, they left their bodies. And the tomb was only built for 1 person.